sex online as easily as they might order a meal.
President Trump is expected to sign an online sex trafficking bill in the coming days.
I thought these guys were my boyfriends. They gave me food. They gave me the clothes that I need.
Sex trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery in which individuals perform commercial sex through use of force, fraud, or coercion. The main victims are typically runaway children who have become homeless or people who were previously abused and are victims of sexual assault or discrimination. The three continents where it occurs most are Europe, Africa, and Asia, and it has been steadily progressing into more areas like the United States as it becomes more common. Sex trafficking is morally unjust and takes away every piece of dignity an individual has. People are prominently sought out because of their vulnerability.
Warning: the following clip may be disturbing towards others. This clip contains a first-hand perspective of sex trafficking and one of the many ways it may be carried out. Sex trafficking is very real and can affect anybody, even people you know. This clip encourages you to always take precaution and to never talk to strangers. Thank you.
In that previous scene, one of the most common methods in abduction or trafficking was used, and is commonly known as the catfish method. This is used typically to deceive young children into luring them to meet up after building up a sort of friendship or trustworthy relationship. The victim believes that the individual they are communicating with is either their age or just a harmless friend. Catfishing is more of a common method seen nowadays because of the increased usage of technology by younger children. There are several clues that can hint that the person you are texting is a catfish, and some are more obvious than others. Typically, the relationship will be rapid and are really trying to push it in order to meet you in person. In addition, they really do not like to reveal their face and keep it strictly to phone calls or text messages that are somewhat aggressive and or forceful. It is very easy to become victim to this because as human beings, we have natural tendencies to openly communicate with other people, whether they be strangers or not, and are vulnerable to getting lured into a trap.
Good evening, Pastor Swindle. How are you doing? Sorry to bother you, but I was just wondering, can I ask you some questions about sex trafficking? It's a very hot topic in our theology class, and I thought you, of all individuals, would be the most intellectual person to talk about it with. So, you know, it's a very serious problem in our society, and it's very crucial that it does not go unnoticed.
Why, hello, young man. The church in the past few decades has been working tremendously to decrease the flow of sex trafficking throughout the world. Sex trafficking is and has been a serious problem and is seriously disregarded by the church in every aspect. The dignity of a person is totally violated, and as Christians, it is our duty to do everything we can to raise awareness and help others who are vulnerable. Everyone deserves the right to freely live their life and live naturally from conception to natural death. But that is degraded by sex trafficking, and the lives of humans were made by God are ruined and used as tools, per se.
Wow, that is very dreadful to hear, Pastor Swindle. Well, is there anything currently being done to help the issue of sex trafficking?
Actually, I'm glad you asked. The church is working with the government and many organizations to help terminate the terrible act of sex trafficking. Pope John Paul II, Benedict XVI, and Pope Francis are very active in eradicating any forms of trafficking. They actually describe it as a crime against humanity.
I guess that's the reality of it. What does current Pope Francis have to say about sex trafficking, and what does he say is being done about it?
Well, he actually says in nature the causes are economic, environmental, ethical, and political, meaning that to stop sex trafficking, a lot of hard work and dedication is going to have to be put forth in order to truly achieve justice. And to help this occurring issue, Pope Francis has launched an organization called the Interfaith Global Freedom Network to help fight trafficking with many other prestigious individuals of the Church. Many individuals of the Catholic Church, like you, are working along chief law enforcement and are very dedicated to ending this form of modern-day slavery. The network itself hopes to eventually provide freedom to all men, women, and children who are being held and are victims of this crime by 2020. Also, nearly 800 women leaders work with over 1 million people to work alongside people of the religious communities and citizens of America to address sexual exploitation at every level. These people are dedicated, all right.
That's actually really great to hear. I even remember learning in my theology class as sex trafficking being described as a type of slavery or prostitution, which puts many women, men, and children in much risk. And when that act is carried out, it is seen very dishonorable to God. It seems very terrible and wretched though, so why would anyone want to do it?
Good question. Many sex traffickers have different and various motives, but the ones the Church has seen most prominent as a very global issue is the influence of pornography, strip clubs, etc. The demand of pornography is so high and available to anyone that it continues to drive many predators out there, as they typically have a sense of false reality in what really is a very immoral act. For this reason, many people who are working to help this cause believe the government should actually issue restrictions on such things, or even zoning ordinances to help stop the encouragement of commercial sex and such. The Migrants and Refugees section of the Vatican has released a set of guidelines to help the Catholic community broadly suppress human trafficking.
Wow, it actually seems like a lot of people are touched by this, and it is inspiring to see that Catholics like us are willing to make a change in a society that is already struck deeply by troubles. Well, Pastor Swindle, thank you for your time. See you next Sunday.
Tonight on Hanson vs. Predator, we observe our old friend Kevin. He's giddy because he just got out of prison for trying to solicit a young boy. I guess old habits die hard because he's back trying to solicit another young boy. What he doesn't know is that he'll be sitting down for an interview with me. What's up, Kevin? Whoa. How's it going? Why don't you take a seat? No. Why don't you take a seat, Kevin? No. Why don't you take a seat? Take a seat. It looks pretty comfortable. Take a seat. What'd you bring here, Kevin?
His name's Teddy.
What'd you bring him for?
I was just coming to hang out with a friend.
A friend? How old is that friend?
Like 19, he said.
He's actually an 11-year-old boy.
11. Wow.
Pretty sure you actually knew that, Kevin. I have your text messages right here. Seem to be a little bit nervous, Kevin. What, you look like you're sweating. Is there a problem?
No, I'm not sweating. No, there's no problem.
Okay, can we just agree that we both know you're here to meet an 11-year-old boy?
Okay, yeah, I am.
What are your motivations for this? Why would you do something like this?
Well, the industry is full of money and it's worth $32 billion. I don't know, man. It is a very lucrative market that has a high demand, and I'm just struggling financially right now. I just figured this would be an easy source of money for myself and my family.
What are your ways of manipulation?
Chris, there are actually many tactics that are used in this industry. Oftentimes, false promises are given to the victims. For example, many people promise high-paying jobs or a loving relationship.
Okay, Kevin. What are some of the darker tactics you use in your industry?
Different traffickers employ physical abuse when handling their victims, and even maybe kidnap them or assault them. Others mentally abuse their victims and constantly break them down into exploiting themselves against their own will.
The effects that this has on people, Kevin?
Yeah, unfortunately, after seeing so much, I've seen effects like PTSD, drug addiction, social ostracism, which totally makes them a shadow in society.
And you should know, Kevin. I'm Chris Hansen, and this is an investigation called Hansen versus Predator. You know what has to happen now, don't you, Kev?
Psych!
Hands behind your back.
I'm glad we got this crook off the streets.
Sex trafficking is a major issue because it is a very high demand and acts like a market within itself, being an industry worth $32 billion globally. Trafficking in general ranks as the third largest criminal enterprise, putting drugs and weapons barely above it. Sex trafficking can be closely compared to debt bondage, as many women or children are forced to carry out certain acts through unlawful debt, which they are expected to pay off before they can be released. This is seen more in poverty-stricken areas where there is much more corruption. However, there's no specific area where sex trafficking takes place, as it is a global issue with over 4.5 million individuals stuck in the industry. As it is very prevalent in areas like the United States, with around 60,000 individuals as victims, much more issues take place in indigenous populations and locations with poverty that have a lack of education and opportunities for labor.